person who's in a state of victimization is in a state of powerlessness where they have no idea that they create their own reality. So by telling them to quit focusing on the objective reality, to only care about their subjective reality and start creating what they want to create and using their emotional system to do that. The people who get what they want take the time to figure out what they want first. There is a reason why, when you sit there in your aspect of I don't know what I want, that you don't get the answer. It's because you can't be vibrating at the same frequency as a question and be a match to the answer. Pay attention to your internal monologue that's in a panic mode, that continues to reinforce the idea that you don't know what you want. Shift those thoughts to potentially knowing what you want. Shift those thoughts to letting go of the need to know. Because you can't get this wrong. As you're living your life, you are coming to preferences, whether you know it or not. And those preferences are causing the expansion of the universe, and that's the reason you came here in the first place. So whether you know what you want or you don't know what you want consciously, the universe is getting the message and expansion is occurring. Play the game of what don't you want. Many of you may not know what you want, but you definitely have a feeling of resentment or resistance within you. And what that is you paying attention to what you don't want. So pay attention to what you don't want. And then play a game of opposites. Once you figure out what you don't want, spin it around and figure out what the opposite of that would be for you. Now, the opposite of what that would be for you might not be the most obvious answer. For example, if you say, I don't want to be sick, the opposite of that might not be, I want to be well. It might want to be, I want to have enough trust in my body to know that regardless of what happens to it, it is always in alignment with health. Take time to figure out why things really bother you. If you figure out the details of why you don't like what it is that you don't like, that will give you a more accurate idea about what it is that you actually do want. It is best when trying not to limit the universe to work in terms of essence and not details. Instead of focusing on the details of your current job and using them to try to figure out the details of your next one, focus on the feelings. What does your current job feel like emotionally? Are you inspired or are you bored? Are you happy there or are you angry? Do you feel powerless? It doesn't matter why you feel the way that you do. You just want to identify those negative feelings. And now you can use that list to figure out what you'd like to feel. I'd like to feel inspired. I'd like to feel excited. I would like to feel as if I'm a contribution at my job. Perhaps what you want is a job that allows you the freedom to be with your family more. Perhaps you want a job that makes you feel more free. Do you feel insecure in your current job? Then most likely what you want is a job that makes you feel secure. We could consider this a pivoting exercise. Figuring out very accurately what I don't want helps me to know what I do want. And once I know what I do want, I can focus in the direction of that. As soon as people learn about the law of mirroring, which is often called the law of attraction, they begin to ask the question, how am I a match to this? They ask this question because they start to recognize that their own consciousness, I should say the frequency of their own consciousness, is attracting in or inviting in people, places, things, and experiences that vibrate at a like frequency. It is an energetic match. They start to recognize that what is happening in the external is like a reflection of what's happening on the internal in a fractal-based universe. With this idea that in order to experience something you have to be a vibrational match to it, comes this idea that the more conscious you become, the more control you can exert over your life experience. Because if you can control your personal vibration, you can therefore control the reflection that you're getting, right? Now, with this comes this idea that at some point you can reach a level of consciousness where you no longer experience any more unwanted things. As if somehow the more conscious you become, the more exempt you become from contrast. That's not how it works, you guys. That's actually completely false. Your relationship to the contrast changes. Essentially, people seem to think that the day will come when a person doesn't have any negative experiences, and if they do, it suggests that there's something unhealed in them, or wrong with them, or that they did something to bring it on. And again, there's this idea that if you're conscious enough, and if you control and heal and purify your vibration enough, you will no longer be a match to any negative experiences, only positive ones. You need to understand that contrast will always apply to you when you make the choice to come into a time-space reality where contrast is an element of that time-space reality. Contrast is the breeding ground for expansion. What do we mean by this? By contrast, we mean wanted and unwanted, positive and negative. It is in the sorting through this contrast that we desire. Desire is born from the unwanted, and desire is what propels all evolution within the greater universe. Therefore, there will not be a time where you are exempt from contrast, any more than there will be a time where you're exempt from the process of expansion. Life would be absolutely pointless if you were exempt from the process of expansion. That's the whole point of life in the first place. Everything in existence has wanted and unwanted elements. Everything in existence has an upside and a downside. Everything in existence has a positive and a negative. There is contrast inherent in anything, and no matter how conscious you become, that's still going to be the case. At face value, the law of mirroring, what most people are calling the law of attraction, is quite simple. It's the concept of reflection, which, by the way, is an exemplary tool for self-awareness. Now, given that we can simplify it in this way, you just think about it as whatever goes in front of it, you see, right? Actually, we oversimplify the law of mirroring. The reason is because people have this tendency of thinking there's only one thing that is reflecting. Let me tell you what I mean by that. A person may think the only thing that is reflecting is what they themselves are or do. When this is the case, when they say, how are you a match to this, they're implying that you are or that you do the exact same thing as the other person does in whatever scenario you are in, and are therefore getting a taste of your own medicine. Or, for example, they think that the only thing that is reflecting is childhood trauma that is still active vibrationally speaking. When this is the case, when they say, how are you a match to this, they're implying that you have an unhealed childhood trauma that is reflecting yet again in your adult life. Or, for example, they think that the only thing that is reflecting is whatever you think and believe. Therefore, when they ask you, how are you a match to this, they're implying that there is some thought you have or some belief you have that makes you a match to whatever you're experiencing. The reality is, any of these things I've just mentioned could be what is reflecting or the reason why you're a match to something. So could all of them at the same time. I'm just going to give you a very short list. And when I say a very short list, I mean like a very short list. I'm going to give you a very short list of what could potentially be reflecting in the external as an experience. What could potentially make you a match to something. First thing, your beliefs. And by the way, most of you don't even know what they are because they're so buried in the subconscious mind. That brings me to another point. What you're thinking, not just on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level. All of that is reflecting. Your desires can make you a match to something. Your feelings can make you a match to something. Your resistance can make you a match to something. Unresolved traumas can make you a match to something. Positive memories can make you a match to something. Ancestral patterns can make you a match to something. Personal truths can make you a match to something. Guess what? So can lies you tell yourself and others. Also, things you are avoiding can make you a match to certain experiences. Pre-birth intentions can make you a match to certain experiences. And I want to mention one last thing on this list that should be so much longer. The choices that you make can make you a match to certain experiences. So we can use this to our advantage once we're aware of it. We can say, okay, anything I focus on becomes part of my reality. And so I can attract, mirror, in my reality anything I want to. We all know that in this universe there are many things which cannot be explained through modern science, right? You have the mother who
has a 2-year-old child who gets trapped under a car, and even though she's 100 pounds, she lifts a 1,000-pound object off of her child. This is not new. This is something that we've seen over and over again. And it gets even crazier when you go to the Eastern world, where, you know, when last time I went to China, I was watching 5-year-old children bend bars of steel that not even like your average Hulk Hogan could have even made a dent in. What it is that they have trained their minds to get so far outside of reality, to see this so much as a matrix, that they are capable of bending the time-space reality sub-laws which we experience. People who levitate are able to raise their frequency and their mind, open it to such a degree that the lesser laws below law of attraction no longer apply. So you could think of law of attraction, the law of mirroring, as something which rewrites all laws below it.
We receive commissions for referrals to our partner. We only recommend products we know and trust. If you want to activate your wealth mind switch to attract money, success, and happiness starting in the next 24 hours, consider taking an online session with our partner. You can find detail in description or comment of this video. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. See you later. Bye.